Hello, friends. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
freedomslips.com. 100% listener-supported radio. Reporting to danger. Unafraid. Right here, where information never sleeps. Revolution. Radio.
Most are afraid of unknown depths, skirting shores thinking world flat, and with the island girls in celebration of new religion. Nobody led me or said this way. I sailed alone on makeshift raft with wind as companion. Fate for deliverance, confidence enough to assess new disposition. Seekers of lost paradise may seem fools to those who never sought the other world. Welcome to Momentary Zen with Zen Garcia. Visit www.fallenangels.tv. You're listening to Revolution Radio.
Hello and welcome, friends, and thank you again for joining us for another live broadcast. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Momentary Zen here on Revolution Radio. And as always, it's a great honor and pleasure to be able to come to you in this way. I'm joined this evening by my son, Justin James, as we continue our introspection of the Illuminati Secret Covenant and protocols. Justin, are you there, son?
Thank you for having me back. I know it's been a while, but we're going to pick up right where we left off on protocol number 9 on re-education, aka indoctrination.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, before we get into all that, I did have a couple announcements. First, I know last time we were on, we did talk a week, and they are assuming that he's perfectly healthy and has no such thing. So definitely a blessing, and we really appreciate all of your prayers. Yeah, so next announcement, definitely a big hallelujah for that one, but next announcement, we wanted to reveal Sacred Word Revealed 2023, and this is our ongoing list, our running list of speakers. So far we have, of course, Zen Garcia, myself, Sheila, and Jeremiah Skiba are going to be coming and talking about their testimony with Brother Rob, of course, and that tragedy that happened there. Brother Gary Wayne is going to join, Dr. Joy Pugh, Zach Mason, and Noel Hadley. So really awesome list. I know Lisa and Noble George said potentially they're going to come and hang out with everybody as well. And yeah, definitely it's going to be a really great time. This conference is going to be all about, as you see on your screen there, esoteric controversies revealed. So its purpose to unveil the mysteries of the ancient past, tying esoteric understanding with modern theology. So let's see how we came to believe the things that we've inherited, right? And as we're reading in the covenants tonight and this protocol that we're starting with, we know that indoctrination is a huge thing. So there's a lot of heresy. There's a lot of wrong things that are taught and have been accepted through tradition. You know, maybe the pastors these days, some of them might have right intentions, right? But they've inherited a lot of wrong doctrines. You know, we just studied through the history of how just our Bible got to us, 66 books as it stands today and in our time. We know there's so much more, and so much that has been potentially added or corrupted via translation. Not saying that the message of the cross is wrong. I would never say that. I think that the Bible in its current form 100% contains all the information necessary for one to come to know their Savior and to come to know the salvation that he offers. So definitely grateful for that. But as truth seekers in this generation, the generation of information and where wisdom would abound, here we are just seeking through all of those old rabbit holes that have been covered up through time, and trying to really figure out where we came from, how we got here to where we are. So that's going to be a really interesting study. And of course, with Sacred Word Publishing, which was my dad's idea back in 2016, we made it really our purpose to publish as many of those texts as possible that maybe should have been contained within the scripture, some that were contained within the scripture, some that were found in the Dead Sea Scrolls that we don't even have very much knowledge of these days, like the Testaments of the Patriarchs and Prophets, the Book of Enoch, things like this. So that's our mission as a company, right, as Sacred Word Publishing, to be able to make that available and mostly at an affordable cost. I know just with the Aramaic Targum, when you search online, it's so expensive just to get the Pentateuch, right? And you put it all together into one little book that's cheaper than each of the individual, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus,
right?
So yeah, really a great blessing to be able to operate in that, and we definitely appreciate everybody's support. So stepping off my little stool here, just want to give a shout out to everyone, and sorry if you hear Ezra in the background. It's his eating time. He's getting ready to eat, and thanks to Joy for taking care of him so I could step over here and hang out with you guys for a couple hours and do this study. But yeah, shalom to everyone joining in the YouTube live chat. Aleko, Adrian, Sarah, Ren1010, Terry, Vicky, Porky, Shazane, Jamali, Tree Mistress. Awesome to see you all. Adriana, thank you all for joining. I'm looking forward to getting into everything tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited to revisit this topic. Definitely excited for the conference, although this is going to be something new for me, controversy. So I'll have to, figure out what I'm going to talk about.
You're not really familiar with anything controversial, right?
Yeah. No, not at all. So definitely new.
I don't know what you're going to be able to talk about then.
Oh, I know. Goodness. I'll have to figure something out. I've got a little time, so.
If you don't have anything to talk about, I could always just invite any pastor from a local church around here, and
right, exactly.
They could talk about what they talk at Sunday school, and for our community that would be controversial enough, right?
Right, exactly.
At Sunday schools, right? All right. Anyways.
Yes, and hopefully, our friends Destiny Lab will be able to join us and share their incredible music. Hopefully, that's a prayer, and it's nothing set in stone or concrete, but that would be an amazing addition. But anyways, yes.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And so can you tell people where to go, the website and all that, to go ahead and, get their tickets and lock that in, where the hotel information?
Yes, you can go to sacredwordrevealed.com. And I believe Joy added the link. She just got the room negotiated, and those are available. How many do we have? How much does it cost per night? It's $120 per night, $124 per night, something like that. But normally it's a much higher rate, so we did negotiate and try to get everyone the best price possible on rooms. And yeah, you can go to sacredwordrevealed.com, and that will bring you to the link where you can find more information. You can see the speaker list there. And I'm sorry, my internet seems to be, I think I just had a little skip there, so sorry for everyone. I think my router might be going bad. I've had a couple breaks from connection the past couple weeks, so I might have to get me a new one of those. Hopefully everything's holding together.
It's good to upgrade and keep everything rolling smoothly. But yeah, so well, praise God for Ezra, and Eliana's doing fantastic. I'm assuming she's just a bundle of joy.
Yeah, she was at the checkup as well. Just hitting all her milestones, surpassing milestones. They said she was very advanced with her speech, and we definitely see that. She gets a lot of love and attention since we're able to work from home and always be with her.
Yeah.
She's not neglected by any means. She's spoiled with love and opportunities to learn. She really loves learning so much. It's crazy. She likes flashcards. When we're eating dinner, she loves for us to go through flashcards and
cool.
Yeah. Learning science, learning math. She's 15, almost 16 months now. She's already looking at things and able to say a lot of words. It's amazing to see. To me, she's still so small, but then we put her little brother up to her, and we realize just how much she's grown. It's crazy.
She's grown, yes. Yes, it is amazing. And she's going to know the truth as far as, the dynamics of world, the true structure of world. And we'll have to go through all that deceit. She's going to be a light for the world and for the kids that grow up around her. So that's going to be amazing too. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get into it. We are already 13 minutes into the program, and I do want to try to cover it. It's been a little while since we've visited this topic, but every time we get together for a discussion on this, it always seems to be spirit led and just always a blessing for the community. And so I know everybody in the chat is excited as well. And again, we do thank all of you for joining us and for, sharing your feedback on how much you do love this program and our discussions of it. So,
yeah. All right, well, we can just get straight into it. So we are on Protocol 9.
Sounds good.
We're on paragraph 8, and this is all about re-education. And it says, who's going to verify what is taught in the village schools? But what an envoy of the government or a king on his throne himself may say cannot but become immediately known to the whole state, for it will be spread abroad by the voice of the people. Well, I guess they're still saying that the kings, the monarchs, and sovereign rulers, right, could still threaten their indoctrination, but by this day and age, those no longer exist, right? Okay, so any comment? We'll just move on. You still there?
Yeah, sorry, I was just starting the YouTube chat room, and I didn't want it to
got it.
Play back. But yes, how about that? I mean, that even that first, who is going to verify what is taught in the village schools? I mean, so appropriate, especially when you consider scientism and all of what we teach with regard to biblical cosmology, because that is the whole premise on how they are able to push forth the indoctrination, the education, and the propaganda of, what is really lies built upon lies. And that is connected to the evolution, the Darwinism, the whole theme of that we evolved of apes or monkeys, or the missing link is that the ancient aliens jumped the gun on evolution. I mean, it's just one thing built upon another, upon another, upon another. And it's really just a house of cards.
Yeah, it's unfortunate how much my generation buys into it, though. I mean, it makes sense, right? From the moment we're born, we're being just overwhelmed with this information and this worldview that's being sold as gospel truth, right? I was sharing with an atheist a couple weeks ago now. I think maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago by now, but they're like, I can't believe you believe stuff. You know, it's 2022 and you still believe stuff? Like, you still have belief? And I'm like, what? What do you mean? Like, you believe we came from apes? That we evolved from apes? And he's like, of course. Right. Of course I do. I'm like, okay, well, that's your faith, you know? That's a faith that's built on theories. It's not anywhere in paleontological record, or it's not verifiable, it's not accurate. It's literally just a religion that's been sold to you. You only believe it because you're on the bandwagon. You're in the little comfort of a box that's been placed around you. Test that box, you know, test it. Really test it.
Exactly. Yeah, test some of your beliefs. You know, even the whole thing of just look for curvature. I mean, just that one thing will destroy so much of what people believe in regard to their faith and, you know, their whole trust in scientism. I mean, but, you know, they think we're the crazy ones. But it is what it is.
All right, so moving forward, it says, in order to annihilate the institutions of the Goyim before it is time, we have touched them with craft and delicacy and have taken hold of the ends of the springs which move their mechanisms. These springs lay in a strict but just sense of order. We have replaced them by the chaotic license of liberalism. We have got our hands into the administration of the law, into the conduct of elections, well, we got to be careful talking about that. You know, right. It'll shut you right down.
Oh my God.
So into the press, into liberty of the person, but principally into education and training as being the cornerstones of a free existence. It's interesting, you know, like we talked a lot last time about all the hidden institutions, the super secret institutions of maybe the serpent seed, or those that have been, you know, descendants of Nephilim, and how they have these institutions around the world that are kind of like Harry Potter, you know, and Hogwarts. There's like this hidden institution that only those who are invited or born into can go, right? And how they have information that would make our PhD like teachers, right, just seem like kindergarten students. Like they really have so much information that is withheld from us. But it's interesting that they release a lot. Like we are really able to do a lot with the information that we have discovered with our science and things like this. There is a lot of, I'm not saying all of the education system is bad by any means, because I think that there are a lot of, you know, procedures that have come about, life-saving procedures and things like that, and airplanes, you know, being an aircraft mechanic, I was always in awe just learning about just how intricate all of the systems that function to make the airplane fly. You know, it's really awesome to see how all of that stuff works, but it's like nothing if you compare what the technology that you see with UFOs and things like that.
Yeah,
our airplanes are, you know, outdated.
Kindergarten, as you said. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and interesting. It says also they've replaced the sense of order with a chaotic license of liberalism. Certainly see that in the indoctrination institutions these days, right?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. And you know, as far as the truth and the propaganda, it's like leaven. You know, there's that little bit that corrupts the fullness of it all. But yeah, there is a lot of truth out there, and there's a lot of advancements, and there's a lot of teaching that is truthful and can be corroborated. But you know, we have to keep an open mind to test all things, as the scriptures tell us, you know, to prove what is right. And you can't do that with everything because, again, there are so many lies. And the disinformation, especially in this day and age, is so rampant, especially when it comes to a lot of things which we have talked about and which has been expunged from our radio broadcasts, in which a lot of platforms have been completely eliminated. And so we must be careful because, we still are utilizing these platforms to share and to reach others and to help them to really come to the truth and discernment of what's going on in the world. But still, we must be careful because we are walking a thin line. But even these shows that we're doing on the protocols, I mean, this information is so thick with truth, and it shows and covers the doublespeak of how the whole order works with the controlled opposition and the false paradigm of the left and the right, which is so important to come to understanding upon.
Yeah, that's very true, and it comes down to that divide and conquer again, right? They just throw it out there. They encourage the liberalism and feel like they leave the conservative people out to dry, right? I mean, they leave everybody out to dry. They're the elites above everyone, all the division, right? But just seeing how liberalism is pushed so much, it really, for my generation, we're just called outdated. Like that guy said, you still believe in stuff, or like, you still believe that only a man and a woman can get married, and that's nonsense to them, that's totally crazy. Like that's oppression.
Old school, right?
Yeah, that's outdated, dinosaurs is what they call us. Like, you're a dinosaur, but anyways, let's move on. That's it is an unfortunate reality that we live in, though.
Right.
Paragraph 10 says, we have fooled, bemused, and corrupted the youth of the Goyim by rearing them in principles and theories which are known to us to be false, although it is by us they have been inculcated. Same thing we've been harping on with all of the indoctrination with Darwinism and things like that. It's nonsense.
That
heliocentricity
right there.
Nonsense.
Yeah, absolutely. Scientism, the evolution, all that. I mean, it just, as we said, house of cards.
Yeah, I don't know if people know what the square and compass of the Freemasons stands for, but it actually is a shout out to a flat domed Earth. Interesting, right? That's from Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike. That's not my own interpretation. That's a quote from his book.
Right.
Paragraph 11. Above the existing laws, without substantially altering them and by merely twisting them into contradictions of interpretations, we have erected something grandiose in the way of results. These results found expression in the fact that the interpretations masked the law. Afterwards, they entirely hid them from the eyes of the governments, owing to the impossibility of making anything out of the tangled web of legislation. I mean, that is a prime definition of where we are with all the Supreme Court and their interpretation of the Constitution, right?
Right.
I feel like as Americans, we worship the Constitution, and for a large part, we're blessed by the freedoms that are supposedly guaranteed therein, but it seems like in our generation, they're slowly and more assuredly being deduced, those freedoms. They're being reinterpreted. And it's crazy when you hear the current administration say that you don't have the absolute right to own a weapon. You're like, what? Isn't that what it says? But it's up to interpretation, right? And their interpretations are becoming more and more nonsensical.
Yeah, like free speech zones.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, free speech zones like Facebook and the White House working with Facebook now to censor Americans.
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. It says this is the origin of the theory of force of arbitration. You may say that the Goyim will rise upon us, arms in hand, if they guess what is going on before the time comes, but in the West we have against this a maneuver of such appalling terror that the very stoutest hearts quail. The undergrounds, metropolitans, those subterranean corridors which, before the time comes, will be driven under all the capitals, and from whence those capitals will be blown into the air with all their organizations and archives. That's something scary to consider. What do you think they're exactly talking about? Just blowing everything up?
The Guy Fawkes. It was a scheme that they had done in England to blow up Parliament. That this was a conspiracy that they had in order to destroy government in one fell swoop, and have the monarchy restored and supremacy, that kind of thing, which this has been a desire, but now they do it covertly. They rule through the lobbyists and the power of money as far as the Ponzi scheme, because it's nothing to them. Money is nothing to them. So there's always a number at which a legislator representative is willing to sell out his her constituents. Money controls and makes the world go around, so as they say, which is another illusion. But yeah, that's what it's talking about. It's historically, and I believe there's a Guy Fawkes Day or something of that nature. But even the movie V for Vendetta was also based upon this whole thing, where they were gonna send the train in with all the bombs and blow up Parliament or something of that nature. But it is based upon that, and so that's what they're talking about, because if they can't control it, they'll just blow it up and create the order out of the chaos.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is what they do. They do all of the false flag events, like Israel back in the day when they first became a nation. They would attack their own facilities in order to create the budget to create even like Homeland Security. Same thing here in America with the Oklahoma City bombing, how that increased Homeland Security and defense and the budget for it, and 9/11, same thing. And then the Patriot Act came out of all that, the military tribunal, the loss of habeas corpus, all of that. I mean, governments do this, and well, shadowy governments, of course.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, the puppet strings were pulled.
Yeah, the Oz behind the mask.
Yeah, it's really crazy. Really crazy, and it's really crazy when you first wake up to these things.
Right.
And you're just your heart's pounding and your mind is just spinning, and you're like, I can't believe everything that I've learned has been a lie. Based on lies that my government that I've always pledged allegiance to is owned and manipulated by elitist people that want to reduce the current amount of individuals on the earth.
It's insane.
Wow,
It absolutely is insane.
Totally mind blowing, and it can definitely feel you leaving paranoid and scared. But I definitely encourage everyone to know that the true king does reign on high, and he's watching out for the souls of all those who come to faith in him. So I definitely encourage everyone, if you are just waking up, definitely keep on that search. This organized evil is nothing new. It's not just a few hundred years old. This is an ancient organization.
Yes.
This is an ancient initiatory organization that has its roots in a heavenly war.
Exactly.
I mean, it goes, this rabbit trail goes deep. So enjoy that journey.
Way back.
Enjoy the journey. Don't give up. And pray to the Creator to guide you on that journey, because there is a lot of deception as we're learning just reading this protocol, right? There's so much deception out there that will that is meant to lead us astray so that we won't see that truth. But I know that the people who love the truth will come to find the truth. So moving to Protocol 10, let you take this one.
Okay, sure. Let me get to the top here. All right, Protocol 10, preparing for power. The camouflage political freedom, universal suffrage, the rise of republics, transition to Masonic despotism, the proclamation of the Lord of all the world, inoculation of diseases. That is the guideline for this protocol. 1. Today I begin with a repetition of what I said before, and I beg you to bear in mind that governments and people are content in the political with outside appearances, and how indeed are the goyim to perceive the underlying meaning of things when their representatives give the best of their energies to enjoying themselves. For our policy, it is of the greatest importance to take cognizance of this detail. It will be of authority, of property, of the dwelling, of taxation, the idea of concealed taxes, of the reflex force of the laws. All these questions are such as ought not to be touched upon directly and openly before the people. In cases where it is indispensable to touch upon them, they must not be categorically named. It must merely be declared without detailed exposition that the principles of contemporary law are acknowledged by us. The reason of keeping silence in this respect is that by not naming a principle, we leave ourselves freedom of action to drop this or that out of it without attracting notice. If they were all categorically named, they would all appear to have been already given. This is the way that they work with government and with law. They'll give it such an idealistic name like the Patriot Act, and then have where the FBI is given the power to spy on Americans.
Look back better.
The NSA is given the ability to not just spy on foreign dissidents and to wiretap foreign conversations, but they can record everything, every conversation, every email, tap into all of the platforms that people use and record all the behaviors, monitor everything that people do online to get a digital imprint of how people are. They can flag keywords, like whatever for terrorism, but they use that instead against patriots and Christians and the people that are the real dangers to government. Anybody that is a divergent, that has a mind to understand what's going on and to warn the people, just like the whole thing with what we saw with Hannah, how kids that hadn't even grown up yet, because they in the future were seen to be dangers to the government, that they would go ahead and target them and eradicate them and never give them the chance to grow up to be, a catalyst for change and to drive a movement. Can't let, the MLKs of the world grow up to warn the people and bring them up to the truth. So, comment?
Oh, well said.
All right, continuing. Number 2, the mob cherishes a special affection and respect for the geniuses of political power and accepts all their deeds of violence with the admiring response. Rascally, well, yes, it is rascally, but it's clever. A trick, if you like, but how craftily played, how magnificently done, what impudent audacity. Number 3, we count upon attracting all nations to the task of erecting the new fundamental structure, the project for which has been drawn up by us. This is why, before everything, it is indispensable for us to arm ourselves and to store up in ourselves that absolutely reckless audacity and irresistible might of the spirit which, in the person of our active workers, will break down all hindrances on our way. Number 4, and you stop me if you want to.
I did want to talk about that.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah,
go right in.
The trick, right? They're like, yeah, it's a trick, but it was done real well. Like, who does that remind you of?
Learn from that.
Who does that? What does that remind you of in the Book of Genesis? Who played a trick? Who lied?
Serpent, right.
Who did it so magnificently?
Right.
And these people claim to be.
Did God say you would really die?
Yeah, right.
Right.
But it was done so magnificently, and it was successful. So we should honor that, like that really reminds me of, in the Quran, Allah is called the greatest deceiver, like multiple times. He's called the greatest deceiver. And you really think, like, who is that they're talking about?
Right.
And the Zionist here, if this is people's first time tuning in, every time it says Goyim in this, they're just talking about the nations other than Israel. And the people who write this claim to be true Israel, but they are identified in the book of Revelation chapter 2:9 and 3:9 as the synagogue of Satan. And obviously here you see things like that, and like, yeah, that was a good trick. And you think, when you have a commandment that says thou shalt not lie, and then you have this whole protocol about lying and sowing in discord and deception, you can kind of tell who their real father is.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, good point. And the first liar, deceiver, and then also the son of the wicked one, that he also came up in the same dispensation. And so we see that, as Christ pointed them out, that they are the assassins of the prophets, the murderers of the prophets, and that they reveal themselves in just how they talk, in the way that they are, and the way that they do things. And so, yeah, we know them to be the enemy, the children of Bel. All right, continuing. Number 4. When we have accomplished our coup d'etat, we shall say then to the various peoples, everything has gone terribly badly. All have been worn out with sufferings. We are destroying the causes of your torment, nationalities, frontiers, differences of coinages. You are at liberty, of course, to pronounce sentence upon us, but can it possibly be a just one, if it is confirmed by you, before you make any trial of what we are offering you? Then will the mob exalt us and bear us up in their hands in a unanimous triumph of hopes and expectations.
Can we comment on this real quick?
Yeah,
Because
sure.
when you go back to that sentence, it says, "We're destroying the causes of your torment." Nationalities, frontiers, differences of coinages. It really reminds me just how much people are really losing themselves these days. Like they're so focused on, are you black or white, right? Are you black, white, or yellow? And really people are forgetting what tribe they come from. People are really forgetting, their cultures. And this is something that's been done repeatedly throughout time. That I know it in Korea, where, you and I have blood, the Japanese, who are, in my opinion, controlled by the Jesuits, they came and they erased the culture of Korea. And I feel like that same thing is happening for the most part, where we're all just losing our cultures and our roots, and we're just adopting the culture that's being sold to us in the institutions, in our education institutions and in our entertainment institutions. This culture where you have 5 or 6 different personalities, and you just fit into one of those, and that's who you become, right? And like black people might have a few, and then white people might have a few different personas that they can take on, but we're forgetting our real roots. And by doing that, it's dangerous, because in my opinion, when you look at every culture worldwide, that's part of my testimony. I was an atheist for 19 years, and I searched through as many religions and of cultures that I could. And when you do that, you see a big picture. Each religion, I believe, the faith that's contained within the testimony that's contained within the Bible is the one true history, and it's the key to unlocking how the big picture really fits together. It's like the missing puzzle piece of how all of the different pieces fit together. And every religion is mixed up with a lie, but when you read the Bible and you read the testimonies contained therein, you really start to see how that big picture and unfolds, and you see how all those lies are actually undone, and they actually contain a bit of truth. All these polytheistic religions, they're not just fake, made-up fairy tales. The billion Hindus, it's not that they just believe in fairy tales. They believe in a version of history that was relevant and real in their geographic location. But if they forgot that and they just became another, Hollywood addict, then we would just be moving further into what the enemy really wants us to do. Forget our past, forget about wanting to know the truth, and just, here is a box, live in this box, be happy in this box. You've got everything you need to survive in this box. Don't ever question what's outside of the box. Don't ever question eternity. Just accept what's given to you, and forget about your roots, forget about your nationality, and then, forget about your difference of coinages. Just take this mark of the beast, and then you'll be able to buy and sell with everyone on the earth. It doesn't matter, right?
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
Yes.
That to me is really, really unfortunate in my generation, because that was something that really encouraged me and led me to faith in the Messiah, was having different cultures, because your mom is Korean, your dad is Native American, and that led me on a path in itself, just wanting to know, deeper about those roots of my culture. So studying Buddhism, studying shamanism, studying on my mom's side, Christianity and all of those different things, and really just taking it back to the root, going as far back as I could, going down those rabbit trails. If you really have a love for truth and really want to know what's real, I believe you'll be led back to the Bible. You'll be led back to the Middle East, of course, and then you'll be led back to that ancient war in heaven, between the fallen angels and the Most High.
Yes, absolutely. Because, that, and as you said, the Bible is the Rosetta Stone. And for all of the other cultures out there that were raised and brought up in the knowledge and the teachings of the fallen angels, it's not that those things are false and that the mythology of all these pagan deities is in any way false. It's just that they are not gods. They are the angels that rebelled against the Most High. They are the demonic forces of Legion, the powers, the principalities, the rulers of darkness and wickedness, spiritual wickedness in high places. That's who they are. And if you don't understand that, then you can get caught up in the idolatry, which, it says of the serpent, that old dragon, that ancient serpent who deceiveth the whole world. And when people don't realize the fullness of that particular passage and how it is connected to these things that we're talking about, that's why it's so important to have the scriptures, and especially the book of Enoch, as this extra biblical text, which sheds so much light on who the rebel angels, the fallen watchers are, how the giants were created from this unholy matrimony, and how it led to their being. And also you have to understand the fall of humanity, the garden, Eve's beguilement by the serpent, because that is the root, the origin for what is the seed of the serpent. And the scriptures tell us there's going to be this war, this enmity between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent, and that it will continue as the wheat and the tares until the end of days, until the return of the Messiah, this second advent, the coming of the Messiah, because we need him to come back to restore harmony and to destroy all of the beast kingdom. He is the cornerstone that's going to crush all of the pagan kingdoms of this world as they rule one on top of the other on top of the other, and working towards that goal of establishing this new world order, which has been something that Satan has been trying to accomplish for a very long time. And as you said, the ancient orders, the mystery schools, and the mystery religions, and um, the holding certain secrets for the elite alone and hiding everything in plain sight. This goes back to the time of Atlantis, to an ancient culture that had far more technological ability and capacity than we have even now in this day and age. They've forgotten more than we've ever even learned. And they lived very long lifespans. I mean, we can't imagine growing to be almost 1,000 years old, how much you would see. And that was just, humanity. This was the 10 generations of Adam, up to Noah's time, living to be 900 plus years in age. I mean, the kind of things you would learn and come to know. I mean, it's absolutely mind blowing when you consider these things. But this is the truth. It is contained within the scriptures, and the Bible is the Rosetta Stone, and it's because it was written by the true Elohim, the true Most High, the Creator of the world, the one that created the heavens and the earth and humanity and all of the angels as created beings. So he would know, the Most High would know and understand, and has revealed it through the prophets and the Holy Spirit. All the truths have been revealed to the prophets for our sake as humanity. That is our legacy, to have that truth revealed and the riddle resolved. All we have to do is read and to study it, knock, seek, and find. And we can be brought to understand the bigger picture, as you were also talking about. All right, let us continue. All right, so was that the very end of 4?
We're at voting, kind of in the middle of 4.
I'm going to just start with then. Then will the mob exalt us and bear us up in their hands in a unanimous triumph of hopes and expectations. Voting which we have made the instrument which will set us on the throne of the world by teaching even the very smallest units of members of the human race to vote by means of meetings and agreements by groups will then have served its purposes and will play its part then for the last time by a unanimity of desire to make close acquaintances with us before condemning us. And the whole thing with voting, it's it's an illusion. It's a game. They give us the illusion of choice, the illusion of choosing our representatives and voting them into office when all of that is set up by them. Even the people that have the money to even uh, come up for office and before you so that you can vote for them, all of that is controlled by the lobbyists and the corporations and those that have the money to give to support the candidates. It's a very expensive thing to run all these ridiculous commercials every day, back to back to back to back, as we see them whenever there's some kind of political campaign.
You know what you're called if you believe that it's just an illusion now, right?
What would that be? A domestic terrorist?
Exactly. Yeah, you're a domestic
Conspiracy
terrorist.
theorist.
No, you're actually a terrorist.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, if you don't believe that it's a fair election, right? You are.
Oh yeah.
You got something wrong with you. You're a Looney Tune.
What do you mean those voting machines and the software can be changed and suppressed and the numbers manipulated? That wouldn't happen. Stuffing all the ballots with votes of people that have been dead for decades now. No, that wouldn't happen either.
No, I don't.
But it's.
I mean, let's not talk
if
about all the people that have gone to jail for felony charges.
Right.
About all of that fraud, because if we do, we're gonna lose our channel.
Yeah. We'll joke about it, but we don't need to.
But everyone, I feel like so probably knows that since you're here, right? Everybody that's here probably knows just how corrupt everything is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is insane.
That's one great thing about all of our listeners and the people that have been led to discover us is that we can have these kind of inside jokes because we know different and better, and the Most High has blessed us in discernment so that it's laughable when it's really so sad. But all right, let us continue. Number 5. To secure this, we must have everybody vote without distinction of classes and qualifications in order to establish an absolute majority, which cannot be got from the educated propertied classes. In this way, by inculcating in all a sense of self-importance, we shall destroy among the Goyim the importance of the family and its educational value, and remove the possibility of individual minds splitting off, for the mob, handled by us, will not let them come to the front, nor even give them a heritage. It is accustomed to listen only to us who pay it for obedience and attention. In this way, we shall create a blind, mighty force which will never be in a position to move in any direction, without the guidance of our agents set at its head by us as leaders of the mob. The people will submit to this regime because it will know that upon these leaders will depend its earnings, gratifications, and the receipt of all kinds of benefits. He who prints the money has the power and the control. All right, we'll be right back for a second hour, everyone.
Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world. As a bookstore for truth seekers, it's our goal to make ancient manuscripts which were once held captive by secretive institutions available for public consideration. In our generation, where wisdom has increased, as Daniel the prophet foretold, we have access to many of the testimonies our early church brethren were persecuted for preserving. After being hidden for centuries, these manuscripts have been leaked from various sources throughout the earth, and it's our goal to gather these sources into printable form to make available for all who seek the ancient way. If you're looking to deepen your studies of the biblical narrative, find these ancient manuscripts and more at sacredwordpublishing.com.
Is what they do, and we must fight back. You can torture us and bomb us, fire is catching. And if we burn, you burn with us.
Good evening.
Are you awake yet? I hope. We've tried and we've tried for years and years to use passive resistance and loud voices to make a change. That time is over. Your governments around the world have no other goal than to decimate your entire existence at the hands of the bankers and the elites. The war is coming, and it's your choice to decide if you want to be a warrior or a victim. Denial is not a choice anymore. Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, the #1 listener-supported radio station on the planet. Not giving up. Revolution Radio. All right, thanks for listening while we take that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
All right, welcome everybody, and thank you, Keys to Truth, for joining and subscribing to the channel. And we appreciate all of you. And from Salty Refried Bean, who asked if there was one book from our selection, what would we recommend? And really, it depends on your interest and what it is that you're wanting to study. But in regard to the bigger picture, the two books that I recommend first are The Great Contest 1 and 2. Great Contest 1 is on the war in heaven, which is the root of, as Justin was saying, the whole matrix of deceit and illusion. And the second book is The Great Contest 2, The Enmity Between the Seed Lines. And it explains the fall of humanity and the beginning of what is the war between the seed of the woman and the seed of the serpent as it relates to the war in heaven and its continuation until the end times. And it also connects the elites, the Pharisees, the children of Baal, as the murderers of the prophets, the tares, the goats, as related in Matthew 13 and 25 as well. So I recommend those two, but again, it's depending on topic. If you are interested in Flat Earth, we do have that trilogy, The End Times. I recommend The Great Commission 3, but there's so much. You really just need to go to sacredwordpublishing.com. Also, if you join our newsletter, we do regularly send out, coupons for 20 to 25% off of your entire book order. And we also have bundled together different collections like the Pre-Adamite and Enter the Living World series. And so, it all depends on what your interest is. But you can always just send us an email as well and tell us what your interest is, and we will tell you which books might be of piquing that interest and catering to it. But Justin, did you want to comment before we move on, son? All right, number 6. A scheme of government should come ready-made from one brain, because it will never be clinched firmly if it is allowed to be split into fractional parts in the minds of many. It is allowable, therefore, for us to have cognizance of the scheme of action, but not to discuss it, lest we disturb its artfulness, the interdependence of its component parts, the practical force of the secret meaning of each clause. To discuss and make alterations in a labor of this kind by means of numerous votings is to impress upon it the stamp of all reasoning and misunderstandings which have failed to penetrate the depth and extent of its plottings. We want our schemes to be forcible and suitably concocted. Therefore, we ought not to fling the work of genius of our guide to the fangs of the mob, or even to select a company, or even to a select company. And, this is also the theme of writing a bill and having it be hundreds of pages long, and then forcing a vote on such a bill, within 2 or 3 days time, which nobody, no congressperson, no representative, and even any like judicial watch group has the time to even examine what is in the content of such a bill. And of course, they're going to try to push it through on political lines. And as long as they contain or, have a majority, or, having a split in Congress, or whether the House of Representatives or in the Senate, you can easily purchase the vote of a few, and in that way sway um, your law, or use your lobbyists to buy off the vote of whatever representative you need. And in this manner is business as usual. But of course, as they say here, they don't even want you to know what is contained in the legislation, so that there's no discussion, no discontent, and no second guessing what is being done on in in your behalf with regard to governing.
Right, the people that are supposed to represent your will, voting
Right.
into law, a 10,000-page document.
Exactly.
I mean, when I was in school, getting like 40 or 50 pages to read for homework was like, oh, this is gonna suck,
Right.
But
Exactly.
but these people that are supposed to be, representatives, like in the Senate, the congressmen, they're voting on 10,000-page documents that they're given, 3 days notice of, or sometimes
Right.
like 5 hours notice of.
Yeah, exactly.
So who in the world could ever read something like that? That that quickly?
You can't.
Yeah, you can't. The only thing that they're given like a few key points, right? And that's what's always discussed by media. That's what's always discussed. But how many citizens are then going to be like, well, you know what? My representative didn't read it, but I'm going to, because I want to know what's going on. I want to know what's going on, but I'm not going to read a 10,000-page document.
No.
I've just come to accept the fact that, yeah, what's written here is pretty accurate. There's a lot of shady stuff.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's all talking points. They're gonna skim through, and if they are able to catch a few things, whatever riders they put in on those particular bills, even like with these $3 trillion budget Restore America, they'll name it again some idealistic that seems it's going to be beneficial for America, but then they have all these things that are totally, supportive of government, and they're, even where they passed a law that they can do eminent domain, and they could take over people's private property just out of national security, those kind of things. I mean, it's insane the things that they're able to get away with, but they do it.
Yeah,
All right,
absolutely.
let us continue. Number 7. These schemes will not turn existing institutions upside down just yet. They will only affect changes in their economy and consequently in the whole combined movement of their progress, which will thus be directed along the path laid down in our schemes. Under various names, there exists in all countries approximately one and the same thing: representation, ministry, senate, state council, legislative, and executive corps. I need not explain to you the mechanism of the relation of these institutions to one another, because you are aware of all that. Only take note of the fact that each of the above named institution corresponds to some important function of the state. And I would beg you to remark that the word important I apply not to the institution, but to the function. Consequently, it is not the institutions which are important, but their functions. These institutions have divided up amongst themselves all the functions of government: administrative, legislative, executive. Wherefore they have come to operate as do the organs in the human body. If we injure one part in the machinery of state, the state falls sick like a human body and will die. So it doesn't matter what government, which part of the world. Um, if it's supposedly set up in representation like our government, with the 3 select branches, they just have to impose their will on, ruling from the top down, which is exactly what they do. And even just like with the Congresses, they were supposed to maintain coinage and the commerce and to regulate the mint and the value of commerce and also of the coinage in America, but they gave up that right to the Federal Reserve. And even giving up that one function of the legislative branch, look at how much trouble it put us
Made a
into.
precedent for others as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And so they have, and now they're doing it, to where they're privatizing so many things. Even like with the military, you have, like Blackwater and all these private military organizations being paid what the Army used to do for free, and so the government is privatizing a lot of things, even with the whole thing of how insurance companies and medicine, if they truly wanted to help the people, they would put everything under the umbrella of Medicaid and Medicare, have everybody represented, and then they would use the power of those numbers to negotiate terms and not bow down to the insurance companies, but force them to have to bow down to what truly should be government's work in doing what's best for the people and supporting the common will and the common good of its constituents. But that's not the way it works, because they've sold out and they've have bowed down to all these lobbyists and to all these mandates that allow all these companies to rule and to control government. We are really living in a fascist state, and it's unfortunate, because here we don't even have, people aren't even guaranteed health care. And everywhere else in most countries, it's a right of the citizen to be taken care of by the governments that they pay their taxes to. But here in the richest country in the world, even though we're the most broke now and the most in debt, but we used to be a great nation at one time. But let us continue. Number 9.
Yeah, I wanted to just go back to paragraph 7 again. It says that they're not going to totally destroy, the institutions, but they're just affecting the changes in the economy of those institutions, and that is going to change their path down to the path that is in accordance with their scheme. I mean, if you just look at the path that all governments now are taking, right, it's pretty sure they're all downhill. Unfortunately, it really does seem like all the governments around the world are really just doomed to fail. It seems like, especially with the economy and the debt that we've accumulated. There's no. We're just rolling off hopes and dreams now. We're just really just living by faith and maintaining power by faith. And now China is really calling for the de-dollarization of the world. The only reason we really have any standhold still is the petrodollar, but who knows how long that could last, and especially because the whole world's moving off of petrol because of the whole green movement and stuff like that. Who knows? It just seems like there's a giant storm that is on its way, but it is in accordance with an evilly organized plan, evilly organized schemes. How interesting is it that we get to read about that scheme and that end game? And even more interesting, it's mentioned in the Bible, in prophecies through all of the prophets have talked about it, from David, even Paul talked about it, right? And a long time ago, in the Pentateuch, we have prophecies about the one world government and the destruction of the one world government, and then the eternal reign of the one true King who is the creator of all. How interesting is that? And that's such an important key to always remember, that this scheme that they're establishing is for their leader. Their leader is going to come onto the scene as a savior. That they're creating all of these terrible things, but they're doing that so that their leader can step in as a savior. But just know and be foretold, be forewarned that the one that comes first, that does lead that world order, is not the true creator. As long as you can pinch your body, the creator has not returned yet, because when the creator returns, all of the faithful will be caught up into the air, will be in an instant turned into new bodies, and this current world, will be completely remade by fire.
Yes, absolutely. Since you brought that up, I'm gonna read really quickly from what is the agenda of the New World Order and the vision that Albert Pike had, even in the late 1800s. It says, after the Second World War, communism was made strong enough to begin taking over weaker governments. In 1945, at the Potsdam Conference between Truman, Churchill, and Stalin, a large portion of Europe was simply handed over to Russia. And on the other side of the world, the aftermath of the war with Japan helped to sweep the tide of communism into China. The Third World War must be fomented by taking advantage of the differences caused by the agenture of the Illuminati between the political Zionists and the leaders of the Islamic world. The war must be conducted in such a way that Islam, the Muslim Arabic world, and political Zionism, the state of Israel, mutually destroy each other. Meanwhile, the other nations, once more divided on this issue, will be constrained to fight to the point of complete physical, moral, spiritual, and economical exhaustion. We shall unleash the nihilists and the atheists, and we shall provoke a formidable social cataclysm, which in all its horror will show clearly to the nations the effect of absolute atheism, the origin of savagery and most bloody turmoil. Then everywhere, the citizens obliged to defend themselves against the world minority of revolutionaries will exterminate those destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirit will from that moment be without compass or direction, anxious for an idea but without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the destroyers of civilization, and the multitude, disillusioned with Christianity, whose deistic spirits will from that moment be with I read that part. Sorry, when I scrolled down, it screwed up. But without knowing where to render its adoration, will receive the true light through the universal manifestation of the pure doctrine of Lucifer, brought finally out in the public view. So, it's been set up for a long time that communism will rise in power and that China and Russia will become the dominant players at the end of days, and that they will go against, form a confederation against Israel and America and Britain and those nations which are, have been riding on top of what is the wave of, the American currency was once the dominant currency of the world, but that is all being moved out of place. And our debt, we were once a creditor nation, but now we are in such debt that everybody knows we're going to default. It's just a matter of when. There's no way we can pay back what is owed. But let us continue. Number 9. When we introduced into the state organism the poison of liberalism, its whole political complexion underwent a change. States have been seized with a mortal illness, a blood poisoning. All that remains is to await the end of their death agony. Liberalism, number 10, produced constitutional states, which took the place of what was the only safeguard of the Goyim, namely despotism. And a constitution, as you well know, is nothing else but a school of discords, misunderstandings, quarrels, disagreements, fruitless party agitations, party whims. In a world, a school of everything that serves to destroy the personality of state activity. The tribune of the talkeries has no less effectively than the press condemned the rulers to inactivity and impotence, and thereby rendered them useless and superfluous, for which reason indeed they have been in many countries deposed. Then it was that the era of republics became a possibility that could be realized. And then it was that we replaced the ruler by a caricature of a government, by a president taken from the mob, from the midst of our puppet creatures, our slaves. This was the foundation of the mine which we have laid under the Goy people. I should rather say under the Goy peoples. And that's exactly, they replaced the monarchy with what seems to be a representative government. They give us the illusion of choice and that our votes count and that we get to select our own presidents and representatives, senators, and legislators, but it's all a dog and pony show taken from the mob, from the midst of their puppet creatures. And so again, the whole theme of the illusion of choice and voting, it matters not who votes, it matters who counts the votes and who decides who even gets to be voted upon. Dustin, care to say anything?
Well written.
All right. Yes, let us continue. Number 11. In the near future, we shall establish the responsibility of presidents. By that time, we shall be in a position to disregard forms in carrying through matters for which our impersonal puppet will be responsible. And notice how they call the presidents impersonal puppets, because that's all they are. They dance on a string to the New World Order and those that truly, from behind the scenes, run government. Okay, I'll read that last line again. By that time, we shall be in a position to disregard forms in carrying through matters for which our impersonal puppet will be responsible. What do we care if the ranks of those striving for power should be thinned? If there should arise a deadlock from the impossibility of finding presidents, a deadlock which we will finally disorganize the country. Number 13. In order that our scheme may produce this result, we shall arrange elections in favor of such presidents as have in their past some dark, undiscovered stain, some Panama or other. Then they will be trustworthy agents for the accomplishment of our plans. Out of fear of revelations and from the natural desire of everyone who has attained power, namely the retention of the privileges, the advantages, and honor connected with the office of president. The Chamber of Deputies will provide cover for, will protect, will elect presidents, but we shall take from it the right to propose new or make changes in existing laws. For this right will be given by us to the responsible president, a puppet in our hands. Naturally, the authority of the presidents will then become a target for every possible form of attack, but we shall provide him with the means of self-defense in the right of an appeal to the people, for the decision of the people over the heads of their representatives, that is to say, an appeal to that some blind slave of ours, the majority of the mob. Independently of this, we shall invest the president with the right of declaring a state of war. We shall justify this last right on the ground that the president, as chief of a whole army of the country, must have it at his disposal in case of need for the defense of the new Republican Constitution, the right to defend which will belong to him as the responsible representative of this Constitution. And so, very clearly it tells us that presidents are nothing but puppets on a string, and the power that is given to them by the executive office, it's that institution which the New World Order wants to rule, because they want the ability to invade, to create war, to decimate. They see war as a beautiful thing, as a way to cull the populations and to create wealth, to arm both sides and to slaughter the masses, to kill the innocents, to invade countries that are not able to withstand such invasion. They can go in there They can steal their oil. They can steal their natural resources. They can set up puppet governments. They can steal their ancient artifacts. Whatever it is that, they are, for whatever reason, targeting a particular area or region of the world. It's always been set up that way. The corporations wanting more access, wanting more wealth, or, people wanting to just impose their will. The whole theme of communism against the capitalism, whatever it is, they always create two sides, the controlled left-right paradigm, and then they use that to divide up whatever region they want to control or utilize as a domino for future and later wars. And they've achieved that. We see even in Korea and other places that this divide of the people there, it was just randomly imposed upon them by a so-called, a line, a particular parallel of latitude or whatever. And everybody north of that would be communists. Everybody south of that would be free and democratic people. It's just insane. But that's the way they do it, and it's worked for thousands of years.
Yeah, it's crazy that they say that a blind slave of theirs is the majority of the mob, but it makes sense. Just going back to that first protocol, free education that we read from tonight, they really do. Through media, through press, through the indoctrination systems, they manipulate sentiment towards certain people. And
absolutely.
And they really can just sway us to all believe that there are two options for us to choose for president, Crazy.
Right. Yeah, they could, if they really wanted to, they do. I mean, they put people that are criminal, up there for choice.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Yeah, Hillary Clinton and the whole Benghazi affair, how Ambassador Stevens and all these soldiers died because she abandoned them there. I mean, they're all the people they're controlled, as it spoke about how there's some deep dark secret in their past that they know about. Look at Obama and how he was a cocaine abusing and not saying anybody's orientation or whatever, but he was also gay, and his wife was a male, and they pulled all that off right in the face and in front of the American public and had us all supporting it.
Not to mention friends with Jeff.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, Epstein and all that, and you see what happened to him. But yeah, I mean, they are pedophiles. They are involved in such depravity, the occult, and America just has no idea. They fight. They spend all their lives watching all these political programs, and they fight to support the left or the right, and it's all just madness. It's all just madness. I wish people would at least wake up to that.
Yeah, it's purposeful. I took an American government class before I dropped out of college, and they're taught that spectrum. That's the only spectrum there is. Extremely liberal or extremely conservative. There's, the people in between, but they're all on this one little spectrum. And, I feel like the people in that Divergent movie, the homeless people that just kind of just exist on the street because they don't belong anywhere and they don't want to fit in anywhere,
Right.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate reality. It's gonna continue. It's gonna continue until that ultimate agenda of the Antichrist deception does take place, and then there's gonna be extreme persecution for the believers, but it's a temporary thing. All this life, all of the the enemy's plans, the Most High is going to turn it into good, and he's gonna reign and rule forever. So,
amen.
Well, what is it? We're just studying this so that we can try to wake some people up, right? And more importantly, waking people up to knowing that there's an enemy. We just hope that that's a stepping stone for people to know that there's a savior.
Right. Absolutely. And to give them the strategy of how the modus operandi of the enemy, how they work to create minorities, and then they, pin the minorities against one another, so that people don't get caught up in that false delusion and spend so much wasted time supporting politically the left or the right. It's, again, as I said, it's madness. It's a waste of time. And it's unfortunate to see so many emotionally charged and caught up in such deception.
Yeah.
Because if they were to free themselves from even just that, they could spend that time, learning the truth, reading the Bible, and coming to real discernment on the bigger picture.
Absolutely.
But let us continue. Number 14. It is easy to understand that in these conditions, the key of the shrine will lie in our hands, and no one outside ourselves will any longer direct the force of legislation. Number 15. Besides this, we shall, with the introduction of the new Republican Constitution, take from the chamber the right of interpellation on government measures on the pretext of preserving political secrecy. And further, we shall, by the new Constitution, reduce the number of representatives to a minimum, thereby proportionately reducing political passions and the passion for politics. If, however, they should, which is hardly to be expected, burst into flame, even in this minimum, we shall nullify them by a stirring appeal and a reference to the majority of the whole people.
You see that so much with President Brandon, right? He's always saying with who they're now calling domestic terrorists, they're always like, that they don't respect the will of the majority, the will of the nation. Like, okay,
right.
I don't know, whatever. I don't care, but you just see it here, just written here. It's like really funny. It says they're gonna make an appeal and a reference to the majority of the whole people. They do that, right? They're like, if you aren't part of the majority, your opinion does not matter.
Exactly.
But who is the majority? It's like nobody.
Yeah, they're made up majority.
Right.
Whoever they declare to be the majority.
Maybe it is. At this point, the majority is just a bunch of zombies.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the whole theme, you see people who think they're so educated in politics, they always declare us a democracy. And democracy is nothing but mob rules. And yet they have no idea how they've been manipulated, and that, that's exactly what they want. They want mob rules. And that's how they control. But let us continue. I was here. Upon the president will depend the appointment of presidents and vice presidents of the chamber and the Senate. Instead of constant sessions of parliaments, we shall reduce their sittings to a few months. Moreover, the president, as the chief of the executive power, will have the right to summon and dissolve parliament, and in the latter case, to prolong the time for the appointment of a new parliamentary assembly. But in order that the consequences of all these acts, which in substance are illegal, should not be prematurely, for our plans fall upon the responsibility established by us of the president, we shall instigate ministers and other officials of the higher administration about the president to evade his dispositions by taking measures of their own, for doing which they will be made the scapegoats in his place. This part we especially recommend to be given, to be played by the Senate, the Council of the State, or the Council of Ministers, but not to an individual office official. Number 16, the president will, at our discretion, interpret the sense of such of the existing laws as admit of various interpretation. He will further annul them when we indicate to him the necessity to do so. Besides this, he will have the right to propose temporary laws and even new departures in the government constitutional working, the pretext both for the one and the other being the requirements for the supreme welfare of the state. Yeah, we see this in all the presidents writing in executive order whatever they wish or desire,
Right.
and declaring, national security or national defense, that this has to be done. I can suspend or trump legislation, or bring in these fascist legislations just because I want to, because I'm the president and I have the power to veto executive right. So.
And it would be crazy if they ever, declared or created or manipulated an emergency or a crisis or something so that they could further their powers. That would be crazy, right?
Oh yeah, that would be absolutely crazy. Thank goodness they haven't thought about that.
Yeah, I hope they didn't hear that. That's oof.
Right. Yeah.
They could really overreach their constitutional rights there.
Yeah, because they would never do nothing like that. I mean, even like that whole Northwoods document about how they would create attacks on American soil to blame it on Cuban dissidents, or even blowing up the Apollo mission and the astronauts as a pretext to declare war against Cuba. They would never do those kind of things because, they would never even come to their mind to have such an agenda.
Yeah. No, it's a good thing they didn't have anybody on those rockets anyways, huh?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right, let us continue. Number 17. By such measure, we shall obtain the power of destroying little by little, step by step, all, that at the outset, when we enter on our rights, we are compelled to introduce into the constitutions of states, to prepare for the transition to an imperceptible abolition of every kind of constitution. And then the time has come to turn every form of government into despotism. Yet this would be martial law, because they can suspend the Constitution at whim just by declaring martial law. If there's some kind of tragedy, like they even did it during Hurricane Katrina, they declared martial law and started confiscating people's guns, going door to door, rounding people up, that didn't follow their martial law scenario. I mean, it's already, mob rules and they can do whatever they want, but that's definitely one of the ways for them to impose such a state of anarchy.
9/11.
Yes, exactly. 9/11.
Not that that was a manipulated event. Thing like that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, those guys in the cave, they very smart dudes.
Yeah, science is so cool. Like just how the physics of the explosion and the pancake demolition. I mean the the melting of those steel beams. How that passport survived all of that. And how they found those passports from even after
and that those passports, they got that plastic labeling on them, so
that probably protected it.
Conducting a lot of heat, yeah. So
stronger than steel beams, that's for sure.
Right, and that passport definitely identified, one of the terrorists, Muhammad Atta. So that was confirmation for government, that they.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Brought forth the right.
No question about it.
No questions about it. Yeah, the only weird thing was that 9 of the 19 that they accused were still alive and still walking and free.
And it's weird that we went to war under the pretext of one thing, weapons of mass destruction, and never found anything like that, and that.
Yeah, even though we tried to plant a lot of that over there.
Right. But we're still in this whole war on terror scenario. Really weird. That's weird.
Yeah, really weird. Yep.
Seems like we're going a certain direction in accordance with a specific scheme or agenda.
Yeah, like, all this is coming to true. I mean, it's not just a big joke, not just a big conspiracy theory, as so many people label it.
No, it's just random occurrences and.
Yeah. Coincidence. It's all coincidence.
Sure. For sure.
All right. Number 18. The recognition of our despot may also come before the destruction of the Constitution. The moment for this recognition will come when the peoples, utterly wearied by the irregularities and incompetence, a matter which we shall arrange for, of their rulers, will clamor, "Away with them, and give us one king over all the earth, who will unite us and annihilate the causes of disorders, frontiers, nationalities, religions, state debts. Who will give us peace and quiet which we cannot find under our rulers and representatives?" That's not an invitation for the Antichrist. No.
No, this must be a conspiracy theory because religions are so highly regarded these days.
Right.
People really respect institutional religion, and people love Christians.
Governments don't fail people.
Oh no.
Why would people clamor away with them and give us a one king over all the earth?
Yeah, and you would never be able to get rid of state debts, right?
Right, state debts.
What
state debts?
Well, I have heard something about like a Great Reset or something like that, but that's probably a conspiracy theory.
Right? Yeah, because states run balanced budgets, and they would never get into debt.
No, definitely not.
No, not at all.
They're responsible. Their leaders.
They're responsible, exactly.
I mean, on a serious note, this paragraph makes me really think of that phrase, that famous phrase, "Let's go, Brandon." There's people who are just so upset with the rulers, right? They're just like all just so incompetent. Every Canadian person that I meet is like, they just hate Justin Trudeau. They're just like, this guy is absolute nonsense, he's like oppressing people, and like we hate him. And hey, Levi, we definitely know. Sorry, we're talking some sarcasm, and sometimes you got to do that so that you don't get shut down right? Because if
so
you do speak too much truth, maybe a person in a black suit is going to show up at your door, or maybe they'll just shut down your YouTube channel.
Right.
Definitely
Or shoot
happens.
you with an ice bullet.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is really crazy, though.
All right. Yeah, it is. All right. Look, I think there's only 2 more. So
I did want to point out that it said that they're going to try to annihilate religion. So, yeah, right. we did read that earlier, the whole frontiers, nationalities, and coinages, yes. Right? But here it adds religions. That is something very significant to take note of, because we know there's going to be persecution in the end times, right?
Right. And they're going to merge it all into one world, economic, political, religious.
Right.
So, all right, number 19. But you yourselves know perfectly well that to produce the possibility of the expression of such wishes by all the nations, it is indispensable to trouble in all countries the people's relations with their governments, so as to utterly exhaust humanity with dissension, hatred, struggle, envy, and even by the use of torture, by starvation, by the inoculation of diseases, by want, so that the Goyim see no other course open to them than to take refuge in our complete sovereignty, in money, and in all else. Yeah, they're going to bring everybody to their knees in order to take the mark of the beast. Yes, we have almost done. Number 20. But if we give the nations of the world a breathing space, the moment we long for is hardly likely ever to arrive. Yeah, so they're just going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing so that people starve and economies are destroyed, so that people don't have jobs and they have no other option to bow down to these governments and to the powers that be and to the leaders that they want to ultimately install, which we know is without a doubt going to end in the result of the Antichrist coming forth and the beast government, the New World Order established. That's where they want to take it.
Absolutely. It's crazy. This is something that we just see so much in our generation, right? That so many people are just either they hate Trump or they hate Biden, one or the other. You know, people are just people just hate the rulers, whoever it is. There's so much dissension. There's so much hatred, and you know, people are becoming exhausted, literally. And I always bring up that conversation I had with a Harvard graduate. You know, he really believes with all his heart that there needs to be a ruler over the world, one ruler that will make hard decisions, and you know, people aren't going to like it, but he's going to be. We need one ruler so that we can get through all of the changes that need to take place for the preservation of humanity and the planet, right? Because greenhouse gases are destroying the world. We need less beef because cow farts are destroying the ozone. You know, things like that. And like we need a one world ruler to make those decisions. You know, right now it just takes so long for any constitutional amendments or any laws to really get passed.
Yeah.
Because there's so much confusion between all the different branches of different world governments. They really need to just come together, unite under one world ruler, you know. That's the only way that we're going to save the world.
All of us, you know, some ancient alien that has it all figured out.
Right.
And is
somebody who can make lightning fall down from heaven.
Yeah, exactly.
Make fire fall from heaven. Yeah, that's the sentiment of the world, right? And that will be the Antichrist, false Messiah.
Absolutely.
How crazy!
The next show we'll begin with Protocol 11, which is about the totalitarian state. And so that will be the installment of Beast Government. And you see already how they want to bring forth Antichrist, their king of despots, to take over what, will be the agenda of the New World. We appreciate all of you. I hope you enjoyed the program. Thank you, son, for
love you guys
this evening. It was enjoyable.
Love you all.
Hope you guys can bear with our
sarcasm, our dry humor.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, exactly right.
Yeah, it's a fine line that we're treading, right? Some thin ice.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah,
You
love
gotta
y'all.
laugh, though. I mean, it's so insane.
For sure.
All right, good night, all. Be blessed.
Well,
Shalom.
I'll see you tomorrow.
All right, love you. Bye.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.